Lesley. My name is Peter Mahanavia, and we thought we'd ask you a few questions about your company as well as your sponsorship of the women's ski jump team. So tell me a bit about your company.
Well, Lesley Stowe Fine Foods, which is also kind of synonymous with the Raincoast Crisp, started actually as a catering operation and specialty food store, and we used to do cooking classes, and so we had 25 years of hard work for overnight success. We decided in the food business you always have to reinvent yourself. So as we were doing the catering business, we came up with this cracker for the catering business. You always have to do new things, invent new things, and be on sort of the edge of the trend, especially when it comes to cocktail parties. So we came up with the original Raincoast Crisp for smoked salmon, and this was received, hugely popular with the parties, and we started to sell it in our own storefront. And then from there, people were, sort of taking it, back east and taking it, down into the States, and we decided that maybe we would venture out and make it available to the retail market. So we ventured out locally, and then it sort of just was a springboard from there.
I've tried the crisps myself with smoked salmon, and it's very good.
Yeah.
I also tried it with mango cream cheese, and that was the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
But so when did you start sponsoring the women's ski jump team?
So it would have been in the fall of 2009. So before the Olympics actually happened, we were interested in supporting something involving sport because of the Olympics. And we just were looking around at different, teams and athletes that needed sponsorship. And there are a lot in Canada that need sponsorship. And so I had the opportunity to go and watch an event, a World Cup event in the Callahan Valley, and I was just astounded that people would do this, throw their bodies down these huge jumps. And we did a little investigation and started to talk to the manager and the coach, and realized that they were in great need of sponsorship. So we came on board with them, thought that it was a good fit because of sport and health and food. And that's how we got started, basically.
Do you ski yourself?
Yes, I'm a keen skier. not a ski jumper, but a keen skier.
That was my next question.
Yeah, no. I've been up to the top, and that's about it, right?
And where's the Callahan Valley?
It's just south of Whistler.
Okay.
And it's an incredible area for cross-country skiing. And that's where they put the facilities for the ski jumping for the Olympics.
So you've been to the top of the jump before.
I have.
What does it look like from the top?
It's pretty scary.
Walk a long way down.
Oh yeah. This interesting thing is they have actually very few accidents in ski jumping. I mean, it's something you start at a young age when you're fearless, and they obviously start on smaller jumps. But it's very technical, and so once you, if you're interested in that and pursue that, once you kind of mastered it, they themselves are not afraid of actually doing it. Right? It's something that they sort of get used to, and once you know the technique of doing it, it's pretty seamless.
Last February, it was not allowed to be in the Olympics. What changed their mind between then and now?
Well, the IOC had said that the women, it's an old boys club, and they don't like to be told anything. It had to be their decision. Ski jumping as a sport was in the very first Winter Olympics, and it was dominated by the Northern Europeans. And so the idea of women coming into it and encroaching also in sponsorship dollars was not appealing to them. And justifiably, until that time, there wasn't much of a field. But over the past 5 years, there have been more and more women participating in it. And they have had World Cup events. They had a World Cup event previous to the Olympics. And there were, I believe, 13 to 15 countries involved, and over 60 women that were registered at that level. So they said there wasn't enough competition, and that the quality of the jumping didn't warrant being added to the Olympics. But I think that was just really an excuse on their part. I mean, there are all kinds of quotes from different coaches and managers in Northern Europe that said it's not healthy for women, it's dangerous for women. And you can't tell me luging and bobsled is like, you know, any less dangerous. It was the only sport that there wasn't women participating in at the Olympics. So that's the thing that Sochi has actually thought it's going to be the first gender equal Winter Olympics that's ever happened. So that's pretty exciting.
That's a big step.
Huge step. I mean, just overall, in this day and age, you know, of equality, it's really amazing that they, you know, weren't allowing it previously.
How many Canadian ski jumpers are there for the women?
Well, I think that number is changing as this announcement has been made. But there are 5 officially on the team. There are 2 that have retired. One of those 2, I think, might come back because she was just frustrated by the whole system, and she was our top jumper. So hopefully, I mean, we're on a more level playing field because it's a newer kind of sport. So there isn't the history in the culture that there is for the men. I mean, the Europeans that dominate the sport, it's a generational thing. They have so many opportunities to do it. It's a huge spectator sport. In Oslo, they have built a stadium that holds over 100,000 people, and they fill the stadium. So the men are like rock stars over there. They're like what we think of hockey players here. So they have a lot of sponsorship, and they can do it as a career because they make, you know, good money at it. Where here it's really high school students that are doing it and the parents that have been supporting it. So they draw from a much larger pool over there. So they've got the history where the women, it's still new, so I think we have a much greater chance of doing really well at it.
What's the age range for the women?
I think it runs from like 14 to early 20s. Yeah.
And they are quite competitive though.
Yes. Yeah, no, they're in like well, Katie was in the top 5. She's the one that retired. And there are 2 on the team of 5 that are in the top 20. So that's now.
Impressive.
I mean, they've got, and they're fairly new at it, and they've got 3 years to work at it. Yeah, and so the motivation is definitely there. And I think you're going to see, you know, more women joining it.
Sounds great. During the Olympics, Vancouver Olympics, W2 hosted the women's ski jump team, the American one, I believe it was. They came and they had an interview here. Only a few people showed up to see the interview. It was quite disappointing that there wasn't as much support for that. And have you talked with the Americans as well, as their close neighbors?
Yeah, no, unfortunately I haven't. I've just been involved with, I mean, we're supporting the men and the women, really just involved with the Canadian team. But the thing that was great when they actually went to court, it was definitely a group effort. It was the Slovenian team, the Norwegian team, the Americans and the Canadians that all kind of went together, were acting as a force together to actually make the difference. And it's unfortunate that we couldn't have had that in Vancouver, but at least it's finally come through.
That's really good. And thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
That's all the questions I did have for you.
Great. Good.